I'm the Talking Skull, and this year I'm exploring classic FPS games to draw a path from Wolfenstein 3D to Halo. This week, I played the first Doom clone. Just 2 months after id released Doom 2, their first legitimate competition appeared. The first of what would for years be referred to as Doom clones before the term FPS even became common. And it came from Bungie? I honestly didn't expect that. I feel like a lot of people think Bungie sprang from the void with Halo. Or Oni if you're nasty. But they're actually one of the most tenured FPS developers in the world. Marathon was even positively reviewed, so why does no one talk about it? Oh. When Doom and most of the up-and-coming FPS scene were DOS games, Bungie was in an exclusive contract with Apple to make games for the Mac, and missed out on the tidal wave of FPS fans with DOS computers. But Marathon has a dedicated cult following to this day, so let's dive in and see what we missed. Actually, we need to address this first. By this point, id had fully embraced their old-school mouse controls. Bungie, on the other hand, still played their games with keyboard only, and mouse controls are clearly an afterthought. Where keyboard only is meant to be played like this, as far as I can tell, mouse and keyboard was made to be played like this. I tweaked the controls a bit, so my experience wasn't 100% authentic. Right out of the gate, Bungie sets themselves apart with this comic book style. Unique aliens and weapons, colorful effects, and this key pose heavy, choppy animation make Marathon look like something out of The Tick. Windows out into space really sell the setting, and I love these enemy designs.
Okay, got an elevator over here.
Sean, there's a ghost.
A ghost?
I killed it. I killed the ghost.
Okay, I'm gonna go up my elevator.
I found another ghost. Oh, I don't want him to oh, okay, yeah, no, they're scary inside. Do not look inside their robes. Wow, Sean, the enemy design in this game is really cool.
A healthy focus on projectile and melee enemies make this bona fide old-school FPS fun. Marathon's main weapons have alternate fires, which brings so much versatility and creativity to the table. Look how cool this is! The addition of ammo clips is novel, but it feels awkward here with no reload button. You can only avoid painful mid-fight reloads by shooting away your last couple of bullets. By the end of the game, you'll be habitually emptying clips into walls like you're trying to get sucked into the vacuum of space. Speaking of spacewalking, Marathon loves low gravity. You cross some gnarly gaps in this game thanks to momentum and weak artificial gravity. On a technical level, Marathon's big innovation is vertical look. Instead of a one-dimensional camera with vertical auto-aim, Marathon's shots are precise, requiring you to physically aim at enemies above and below you. This feature pushes Marathon much closer to a modern feel. Your vertical aim is pretty tightly bounded, but this is still a big step. The main thing that sets Marathon apart from id's work, though, is the story. Where id were only really interested in shooting stuff, Bungie co-founder Jason Jones believed from the start that his games should have compelling stories. Marathon comes out of the gate swinging with substantial amounts of text from your multiple AI mouthpieces. The writing quality sometimes dips into amateur creative writing project territory, but other moments really shine. With Marathon, Bungie proves that it cares a lot about fleshing out its game worlds with characters, factions, alliances, and themes. And these are more than just set dressing. By the final missions, these world-building details matter on both a narrative and mechanical level. Marathon's story periodically breaks free from the confines of the text box, with small but compelling beats like this level where you have to save your ship's crew. Oh yeah, we have friendly NPCs now. They're as simple as it gets, but their presence makes Marathon much more dynamic, with NPCs running, fighting, or held hostage. Marathon also has dedicated deathmatch maps. These are the first official deathmatch maps we've seen, and though they're not exactly amazing, they're small and simple, best for 2 to 4 players, but these maps are a solid foundation. Marathon had a healthy deathmatch scene, and these maps are the biggest reason why. There's a lot to like about Marathon, and a lot that distinguishes it from its peers. Unfortunately, there are a few things that hold it back from greatness. I've talked before about my feelings on mazes. Poking your head down endless identical corridors until you stumble across what you're looking for isn't challenging, it's just tedious. We've seen better level design even by 1994, but most of Marathon's levels are designed to be maze-like, and suffer from a lack of hubs, central passageways, or forward momentum. They're winding, lateral layouts with little to anchor the player, and around 10 of them feature literal mazes. To make matters worse, Marathon has an overly ambitious objective system that asks you to complete tasks around the map before you can leave. This is a neat idea, but lack of clarity and these winding levels result in a lot of gormlessly wandering around empty maps after your primary mode of play, shooting aliens, is already over, and most of the objectives barely even contribute to the narrative through line. There's this idea in game design that a game needs to have multiple levels of engagement, action, and downtime. What's tricky about this concept, though, is that players get alternate forms of engagement way more easily than you might expect. Take Doom, for example. Why does Doom work despite only really having one verb of play? Well, because you also have to navigate the level. Occasionally getting lost, having to figure out where you're going next or check the map, these are the sources of downtime in Doom. This is the entire design of Shadow of the Colossus. Just going from point A to point B with minor navigational difficulty gives the player time to naturally cool off, appreciate the environment, and anticipate the next encounter. Marathon, sort of like God of War, uses puzzles for this purpose. The problem is, Marathon's downtime is already clunky with all this text. To spend additional time on puzzles, all tied together with mazes and unclear objectives, makes Marathon slow and monotonous. Even the elevators make you wait around too long.
Shit, I missed the elevator. Well, have fun. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm just gonna scout ahead.
It went back up. It went back down.
If these puzzles were interesting enough to be the primary focus, this could be fine, but they're really not. As an example, this one puzzle spans almost the entire map. There's nothing to figure out here. I just have to eyeball whether these platforms are the right height. If I get to the end and I find out that I did it wrong, even just slightly, I have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level to fix it. It would be fine if these puzzles were intrinsically interesting, but they're stairs. Like, I don't know what else to say. You push buttons to make stairs go up. I have a particular bone to pick with this puzzle because I had to complete it 3 times thanks to the lack of checkpoints in Marathon. Unlike Doom's always available save scumming, Marathon uses dedicated save points, and these save stations are the only checkpoints in the game. For reasons I will never understand, there is not a checkpoint or save station at the start of most levels. That means if you die early in a level, you go back to the previous level and have to complete it again. Hope you enjoyed making those stairs. You get to do it again. Bad Bungie. Put save points at the start of your levels. Healing in Marathon works the same way. 1 or 2 dedicated healing stations in the whole level. These healing stations are limitless, so you can come back to them anytime as long as you can backtrack to them. Marathon has you crawling back to suckle at the teat of long-past healing stations, adding even more monotonous backtracking to an already slow, padded-out game. Of course, that's assuming that you've found any healing station yet. Every mission is this bizarre ping-pong between incredible tension trying to get through the first rooms without a chance to heal or save, constantly at risk of being thrown back to the previous level, until you find a heal or save station and suddenly you're fearless with the knowledge of unlimited resources. As a quick aside, the sound design can be pretty rough too. Despite all that, I can't help but like Marathon. It's charming, and it's dotted with so many memorable moments. There's a point about halfway through the game where you board an alien ship, and Bungie injects otherness into every aspect of this level.
They're really cool. Oh, it's like a gummy thing on... There's your hand.
Yeah, your little green hand is in there.
Oh, it's like attached to your body. Oh. Oh, it like wraps around your shoulder like it's giving you a nice little side hug.
Mm-hmm.
It's nasty.
Bungie have a penchant for pulling the rug out from under the player with wild paradigm shifts mid-game. This isn't the only one in Marathon, and of course they'd become famous for a similar stunt years later. Marathon had its fair share of flaws that kept it a tier below Doom, and the limited FPS audience on Mac kept their sales moderate, but even this early, Bungie knew exactly who they were as a studio, and the groundwork they laid here would lead them all the way to Halo. If you want to play Marathon, check out the fan-made port, Aleph One. It's the only sane way to get Marathon on Windows, and it even adds co-op. If this old stuff is interesting to you, check out the rest of my series on classic first-person shooters to see what I have to say about Doom and more. And if there are any you think I should cover, leave a comment so that I can see. Next week, we'll see id's John Romero take a budding studio under his wing.